You are listening to Nerd Best Friends, a podcast that covers the nerdy conversations you're already having, or wish you could. It's the nerdiest thing you'll do this week.
This is Analese.
This is Rob.
And this is Dr. Intern Joan.
And we are your nerd best friends.
Today, we're pulling back the curtain on Return to Oz.
This one's darker, weirder, and absolutely left some childhood scars.
Welcome to Nerd Best Friends, the podcast where we talk comics, D&D, pop culture, cosplay, basically all the stuff that makes you go, these are my people. If you're feeling it, do us a favor, follow, subscribe, and share this episode with a fellow nerd. Help us grow the nerd herd. Now strap in, roll for initiative, and let's get nerdy.
This is episode 90 of Nerd Best Friends, and today we're going back to Oz.
Not the cheerful sing-along Oz.
That's right. We're talking about Return to Oz.
A movie with trauma, electroshock therapy, and wheelers.
If this movie scared you, fascinated you, or unlocked a lifelong love of weird, congratulations, you're among friends.
And before we get to that, we have some nerd mail.
Nerd mail.
So a couple episodes ago, Dr. Intern Joan, you talked about the nerdiest thing you had done that week was complete your rewatch of Bewitched. I'll remind us again, 230 episodes, 250 episodes?
254.
So many episodes.
It really is. But
They're
you...
only like 20 minutes long, to be honest.
Also true, because of commercials, and to fill 30 minutes, it's 20 to 22 minutes. Yeah, you're right. It's still a lot of watching. You are amongst friends because our TikTok post about your rewatched has had tons of people saying, I do this once a year. Da, 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 da. Can you? I mean, it's wild how many people love rewatching all of Bewitched.
I never would have known it had such a following.
That is wild. So did you, now that we know, we could like uncover the secret Bewitched subreddits and Facebook groups and things to see what's going on there.
It'd be so interesting.
Now, if you were going to do it again, would you watch the whole thing, or is there a delineation for you with Dick York, Dick Sargent, black and white and color, or do you just love it all?
I think I would start when it started in color and stopped when the original Darren left. Because after that, it was a bunch of repeat themes and repeat concepts. And I think it stayed on longer than it needed to.
Start when it changed to color?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Or
how many
not.
seasons were in black and white?
Two, maybe one, maybe two.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because to me, Bewitched is black and white. And when it turned to color, it was like, oh, whatever, shark jump.
Is this? I like seeing the furniture and the fashion, and in color, that's where it's at.
Interesting. What about you, Analese? Bewitched, black or white or color?
My only experience with this show is when it was on syndication growing up. So I don't know that I remember enough about it. I would probably do the whole thing just because of that. I remember very, very little about it other than the main characters, and it kind of had the same premise every episode.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me a lot of Three's Company, right? Once it found its episode format, it was that for years and years and years, and Bewitched is kind of the same. So the fact that there are actually, I learned this from you, Joan, the fact that there are some long-standing arcs and things that the characters go through over the course of time is real interesting to me. So I would do the whole thing just because it would be like watching it for the first time.
See, Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, Mary Tyler Moore Show, Andy Griffith Show, gotta be black and white. I'm not interested in color. If that's on the TV, I'm like, oh, skip the channel. If it's a black and white one, I'm like, oh, look at this, you guys.
You're into it. Well, I Dream of Jeannie is not anywhere, and as soon as it is, I'm rewatching that too.
Ooh,
really? I wonder why.
Future.
It's it's the music rights. It's all that great popular music. No, come on. They weren't playing any popular music in I Dream of Jeannie, were they?
Well, no, I think because it's not syndication rights anymore, right? I think they have to rewrite contracts for all the actors or their estates or whatever. It's got to be, or whoever owns it wants more money than someone's willing to pay to stream it. It could be either way. So time will tell. That could be a future episode of Nerd Best Friends.
Maybe it's too problematic and doesn't hold up to today's standards.
I mean, it is about a woman who lives in a bottle until
to
You let
service
her
a
out.
man.
Yeah,
And wears see-through pants and basically gets like verbally abused by him on a daily basis.
pretty much all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how about you, Rob? You got any nerd mail for us?
We do. We have another Dr. Intern Joan focused email. This one is from listener Los805, who was following up on your trip to Jack in the Box, where you got Gremlins paraphernalia. I don't remember what it was. Was it an
Air
antenna
freshener.
ball?
The air freshener that everyone agrees is gross.
Okay. And so we were informed that there is a Gremlins movie coming out. It is scheduled for 2027. And Joan, you said it is original Chris Columbus written movie, a complete, like, it's happening again.
It's happening. Thanks for this nerd mail because it wouldn't have made me dig deeper. And now I can mark on my calendar November 19th, 2027.
What an incredible failure of advertising that just gremlin air fresheners showed up and nobody had any idea there was like, it's almost like they did it a year early.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Oh, it'll be 2 years early because Joan was getting that Jack in the Box during football season of 2025.
Yep.
And the movie comes out in 2027.
Like spring 27.
Really
that is
it's really odd.
It's like somebody got their dates messed up and just said, like, I don't know. That's what it's baffling to me. Maybe they made them and they're like, hey, these air fresheners are going to smell like nothing in 2 years. Just get them out the door.
As a matter of fact, they smell like nothing now. That smell lasted 0 seconds.
Upon tearing open the air-sealed package and letting loose the amazing, the succulent aroma of gremlin, it lasted about 1 second. Now it's just a piece of cardboard.
Yep.
But on the flip side, Joan, you mentioned just how excited you are and how much you love Gremlins.
We watch it every Christmas. I love the thought of going to a strange place and getting a strange gift, a unique gift. I love it going haywire. I love all the guys' inventions. I mean, if we do an episode, we can dive into it, but I could talk about Gremlins forever. Just the first one. There are no more after the first one.
They don't exist in the world of Dr. Intern Joan.
I mean, this one might not exist either. We'll see.
That's a good point. 2 years is a long time for a Gremlins movie to sit in an editing booth before they run out of money.
Well, nerds, thank you for that nerd mail. And send in your deep thoughts, nerd questions, or talk nerdy me subjects you'd like us to cover by sliding into our DMs or send those topics in an email to podcast@nerdbestfriends.com. Let's return to Oz.
Oh my gosh. Dr. Intern Joan. What a treat you have brought us. He absolutely loved this movie. And this started like, you were saying something about like, you made a reference. You're like, oh yeah, like the princess in Return to Oz that changes out her heads. And both Analese and I.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it was our villains episode. It was a villain on Dr. Intern Joan's list. And both of us, you're right.
We're like, what are you talking about? And you're like, yeah, she's got like this closet full of heads and she can change it. And I'm like, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard. I'm stealing that for like a Dungeons and Dragons villain. What is this? And so we put it on the list and we watched it this week. And what has happened is you have uncovered another nerdy topic that I am into, which is Wizard of Oz. And I didn't know this movie existed, and I think it is wonderful.
Well, I love hearing it. I wanted to counter the never-ending story conversation we had with a movie that you all hadn't seen versus I hadn't seen that one.
It's a good call.
This movie is based on the second and third Oz books by Frank L. Baum. He wrote 14 to 15 books, so there is so much content that hasn't been shared about this world that we know about. So,
and there are 8 published books, right? I believe there are 8.
8? He wrote 14 to 15, so I don't know.
I'm going off of actually, I didn't know this until I watched the show You on Netflix. And the first season of You, it has nothing to do with the main storyline, but in the first season of You, the girlfriend he has a rich friend who has all 8 of the original Wizard of Oz stories, and he gets accused of stealing one of them because he's a rare book collector, so on and so forth. It has nothing to do with the rest of the show other than antagonizing this friend of the girlfriend who doesn't like him. But I'm like, there are 8 books to Oz, and I looked it up and like, yeah, there are 8 books in this universe.
So I also had kind of like this experience probably, now 10 plus years ago, but this was when I was still a classroom teacher, and I was talking to this student who loved Wizard of Oz. And I don't know, I had heard something about how she liked Wizard of Oz. And there was a turn-based RPG that came out on iOS that was like in the world of Oz. And so I started playing it and I'm like, this is awesome. There's all these like clockwork people and there's like people made out of teacups in China and there's rock monsters and like all this kind of stuff. I'm like, this is crazy. So I was talking to this student, hey, I'm like starting to get into this game and it's all this stuff about Wizard of Oz. And she's like, oh yeah, there's like 8 books and I have them all and I'm trying to get original copies, like rare books and all this stuff. She was super into it. And so it was actually that game and this student that led me down like the rabbit hole of Wizard of Oz, and particularly all of the Wizard of Oz and all those books. They're very political for the time. They're really like these political allegories for what was going on in America at that time. And it's fascinating. And so this, yeah, like you said, this movie puts together a couple of those sequel books, which I think is fantastic. However, if I could go back in time and like shake the people who made this movie, it doesn't say till the very end credits based on Land of Oz and Ozma of Oz, books by blah, 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 blah. I'm like, if you had put that at the front, if it had started there, we wouldn't have so many questions, because I'm like watching this movie and I think, Analese, you probably had some of the same questions. It's like, why is Dorothy so young? Why is it in color? Why is it like, like all of these different ideas of like, what? And it took a while to be like, wait a minute, this is not a movie sequel. This is not telling us about the movie. This is definitely leading into the books.
Right. It's a sequel, but a non-sequel. It doesn't follow the canon of the first film. And I've never read the book, so I don't know how far off the books, the Wizard of Oz that we all know that's iconic. I don't know how far off the books it is. But what I find funny, Rob, is that you did that deep dive back then when you were a teacher, but you didn't run into this film. That's crazy.
No, and I didn't read the books. I just kind of like, I did some research and like was looking at the world, like some Wikipedia stuff, some podcasts, and stuff, but I didn't actually sit down and read the books. But I will say that it's also interesting. So Wizard of Oz is an allegory for the gold standard versus the silver standard, which was this hot button political uprising of the time before the 20th century started. And the idea of the gold standard was that the United States economy and the money that it prints should always be backed up with gold. And there should be the exchange rate should be based on gold. All the gold in Fort Knox should be accountable for all of the gold or all of the money that is in the economy. But as time was going by and we were entering the 20th century, there was less and less gold. So people who were like old money and like rich and powerful industry magnates and all that stuff loved the gold standard because all their gold, all their wealth was gaining money. And then the other side of that was people who wanted to introduce silver into the gold standard and go to a silver standard, which was really a mixed standard, but it would help people who had loans, new home buyers, farmers, people who owed money and were trying to get money. They wanted to pump more money into the economy for them by introducing silver. And so in the books, Dorothy's slippers are silver slippers. They're not ruby slippers. And there's this whole allegory of her walking the yellow brick road on silver slippers and then finding the Wizard of Oz. And then there's a whole thing about populism, right? Because there's this idea of, that was when William McKinley was president, and William McKinley was a very much like gold standard guy and like, don't worry, pores, we politicians know what's going on. And that really led to this populist movement of wanting more representation of the people. They wanted people like the farmer, the scarecrow, the factory worker, the Tin Man to have more representation in government. And the government that was there, William McKinley, he was false. He was empty. Just like the Wizard of Oz is really just a little man pulling behind the curtains. That's William McKinley. So there's all of this like cool political stuff and history in that movie. And what's wonderful about it is it's one of these movies. It's like, they're not subtle about it, right? They're bashing you over the head with it the whole time if you know that's what it's about. And so then this movie, based on the book, did not disappoint at all, because it is also bashing you over the head with all of this turn of the century history and symbolism. All that to say, Wizard of Oz is awesome.
Thank you for nerding out about that, Rob. It's like,
I love
genuinely
history, so
a
that was
unique
fantastic.
nerd moment that we rarely see from you unless we
We
ask
didn't know.
for it.
We didn't know. We didn't know
No.
that this was going to uncover this other secret nerd obsession Rob has.
Dr. Intern Joan, can you remind our listeners who might not have heard that episode about villains, go back and listen to it. It's a good episode. We have good villains. This was a show or a film that you just organically watched every year, or you watched as a kid? Remind us.
Return to Oz. I would say maybe I found out about it in my teenage years. My brother managed a VHS rental store.
Heck yeah.
Not Blockbuster back in the day.
Daily video.
Right, I spent tons of time helping him like shrink wrap and put styrofoam things into cases, and I got to see all of the movies. And so I think it had to have been then that I came up with it. But it is my favorite Oz movie.
It's a good one. And so for our listeners who have not watched Return to Oz, here's a quick synopsis. Dorothy Gale, who, after being institutionalized for her Oz fantasies, is mysteriously returned to a desolate, ruined Oz where the Emerald City citizens are petrified by the evil Gnome King, leading her to team up with new friends like Tick-Tock, Jack Pumpkinhead, and Bellina to restore the land, defeat the tyrannical Princess Mombi, and rescue her old friends. The plot is a darker, more faithful adaptation of L. Frank Baum's books, focusing on saving Oz from destruction rather than just finding a way home.
Right? Released June 21st, 1985, for anyone.
That was a good year for films, I'm going to say. We've covered a lot of films from 1985 on this show.
I thought the effects in this movie looked great. I don't know if it had a ton of remastering. That Jack Skellington Pumpkinhead dude looked great. TikTok, which hilarious that the dude's name is TikTok spelled exactly the way that the thing is now. I'm like, wait a minute. I wonder if that's had anything to do with it, but
there has to be.
We're going to have
to find that out. Or nerds,
we're going to find out that
know.
People in China who designed TikTok love Return to Oz.
No, it's true.
They're like, what are we going to do to hook these Americans into our app so we can steal all their data through our crazy algorithm? You know, that robot that looks like Teddy Roosevelt? TikTok?
Listen, the claymation and puppetry in this show, I think,
it's awesome.
If you made it today, it wouldn't have the same vibe at all. You can't CGI this.
No, you can't.
It wouldn't be fantastic. As like weird and creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TikTok walked around because this acrobat gymnast guy was inside bending upside down and backwards to make him walk so awkward. So when you think about how a person did that puppetry, that's dedication.
I was wondering that because the legs are so far spread apart. I was like, how is a person straddling that inside there? Like I could not figure it out.
Upside down? Wow.
Upside down and backwards for the legs is what
that makes sense on how awkward. Wow.
I need a diagram. I can't picture it. I remembered what I was going to say, and it was about the characters and the puppetry and the effects. When we first got glimpses of Scarecrow, Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion, I think when they're like turned to stone when they visit the Emerald City, and I saw that was when the movie finally clicked for me. And I was like, this has nothing to do with the Wizard of Oz movie. This is all about the books. Because the other thing they did is with those characters, they made them look exactly like the illustrations in the original book. So back in the day, books like Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz and things would have, even though they were novels, they would have illustrations. The Chronicles of Narnia, another example, like you're reading the book and there's like ink drawing, like line drawings throughout. And those line drawings in Wizard of Oz look exactly like that scarecrow that's like all different with like the goofy face. The lion, like exactly like those, that art. And I'm like, oh, okay. Stop thinking about Wizard of Oz, the movie. Put that away. This is about the books. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It just looked incredible.
It is about the after effects of the Wizard of Oz movie. It is like afterwards, but it's not as
absolutely
streamlined because it is based on the books.
So let's talk about how the movie fits into the universe of Wizard of Oz. Does it break the rules?
I mean, without being an expert on the novels, I would say, no, this trumps all of that stuff because this is more based off the actual works and actual universe of the canon than anything else. I would say it's probably from what I've seen, it's even a more faithful adaptation of those those novels than the original super crazy popular movie was.
I would agree with you. I remember pausing it when we got those first glances of the stone versions of the Scarecrow and the Cowardly Lion, and I turned to my partner. I went, this must be what they look like or described as in the books, which we don't get in the iconic film. I don't blame them. I mean, they did what they did. They made humans into, right? They put costumes on humans instead of dealing with puppets and robots when it came to those characters. But I remember I stopped and said, this must be how they look or are described in the original books. So this, to me, doesn't actually break the rules. It breaks our brains on what Oz was supposed to look like, because as I thought about it deeper after watching it, the part that we don't really, it's hinted, but we don't really see in the well-known Judy Garland iconic film is how unstable Oz actually is. It's unstable. And the hints are there the entire time, but we're too busy with how beautiful she is singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow and how hopeful she is to go home. And those themes for the time making that movie hit a lot more than the fact that Oz is a very dangerous and unstable place. But it's there if you go back and look at it.
That political allegory of it's very clear with Oz. It's like, well, you go to the desert place and it's like this, and you go to this city and it's like this, and you go over here and it's dangerous for this other reason. And it's like, again, that idea of walking through America and what is it like in a big dangerous city versus what is it like in a place that just got hit by the Dust Bowl and is this wasteland, all of that stuff playing in. I love that the symbolism is so if we were in 1905 watching this, we'd be like, oh, look at this hack job. The symbolism is so over the top. But 125 years later, we're like, oh, I love how this is really telling me what it's about with the symbolism.
Well, and it gives you more world building too, because you wouldn't have thought that Oz had all those other spaces based on the first movie. And I think the first movie was more of the times in terms of cinema and technology and movie making versus being based on the book. And we get more of the book. And it'll surprise you to know that I haven't read any of these books, which is a horrible overlook on my part. But
maybe we have a nerd project.
I know. Maybe we got added on there. But there are so many Easter eggs in Return to Oz, supposedly, that we've missed all of them because we haven't read the books. Wow. My understanding. So there's even more to unpack that we aren't talking about right now.
Yeah, see, I would
say one of the things that's interesting too, though, is because that first movie existed, and I think only because that first movie existed, the ruby slippers are a thing in Return to Oz. And I think they had to keep them ruby slippers. Otherwise, it would just broken all the audiences for some reason or something, because those ruby slippers became so iconic instead of the silver slippers.
And they had to pay. They were owned by a different studio, so they had to rent them or pay to use them in the movie. It was
That's why they only appear once.
Yeah, that's why they're
One of my absolute favorite scenes is this, what is King Mombi?
The Gnome King.
No, the
Princess
Gnome King.
Mombi.
Mombi's Princess Mombi, you're right. When the Gnome King was becoming more and more real as the characters were losing his challenge, and he's sitting there cross-legged with his little pipe with these ruby slippers. I'm like, this is drag queen status. I loved every second of that. We were chuckling so hard, and that's another place that we paused. It was amazing.
It's an amazing scene. Nicole Williamson, I don't have a reference for he was this guy. But that voice is a voice of the 70s and 80s in animation and things that I've seen. As soon as he started talking, I'm like, I know this actor. I can't tell you who that was. And even looking at IMDb, I'm like, this isn't what I'm thinking. Where's the animation credits? But yeah, I noticed that too. Just incredible. He kind of even puts on a little a little shoulder into it.
Yes,
and crosses the legs with the ruby slippers. I'm like, let's go, King.
His feet are they're dangling a little bit. They're not quite hitting the ground. And he's getting a little giddy and happy that he's becoming more everything around him is dark, and these red ruby slippers are just glistening, and he's just dangling his feet. I mean, it is phenomenal. And that's phenomenal.
That scene lives in fear for me because he got more human and you could see his eyes.
The makeup, yeah.
I used to be obsessed with anyway, I'm a weird kid. You can tell so much from people's eyes, so I was always looking at people's eyes. That's where the makeup wasn't. And so it was just this contrast from...
And it made
because
his
it was
eyes glow
probably
a bit
that
more, right?
super poisonous lead-based makeup that killed that one Bond girl. You were talking about how it is definitely a sequel and like very much based in the like, this is what happened after Wizard of Oz. And we mentioned it in the open, but dark. Henry has PTSD. She's like, well, his leg's broken. And Auntie M's like, that leg's mended. This man is not building our house because he has PTSD from this tornado that hit and wiped out everything that he owned and loved. They're so fraught with Dorothy's imagination tales of Oz. They take her into the big city, which again, symbolism, you gotta love it. You go to the big city, that's where the money is. What's the city called? Franklin. What's the biggest bill we have in American currency?
That.
The Benjamin Franklin.
I didn't catch that at all.
Why do you know more about this than me?
You unlocked something, Joan. This was, how the kids are always like, oh, low key, I really love Jesus. I'm like, low key, I've been an Oz nerd all along.
Amazing. Okay.
So they go into the Franklin and they talk to this doctor, and it's very similar, right? There's like a definite parallel between Wizard of Oz where they talk to the fortune teller, and then in Oz, the fortune teller is the wizard. Here they talk to the electroshock therapy.
Which was, I think, definitely of the time, the treatment of the time.
It is.
Yes,
it
absolutely.
was the cure-all to everything. Something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with your kid. You go through electroshock therapy. You gay? Not gay after electroshock therapy.
Okay. This is another thing that was totally tripping me out. Tangent. I went to a college called California State University Channel Islands, and it was built on the old Camarillo State Hospital, which was definitely a place like that where people, especially like around Southern California, older people have very strong feelings about how their loved ones and family members, because they were gay, because they were autistic, because they were whatever, were shipped off to this state hospital out in the boondocks mountains of Camarillo and got electroshock therapy. That closed down and they built a college on top of it. And when I started going there...
I'm going to give you a tangent, a fun fact to your tangent before you continue. It is also rumored that mental hospital in Camarillo is one of the basis points for the song Hotel California.
Yes, it was also a rehab center.
Yes.
And, in its later years, it was a rehab center. And on the album Hotel California, it has a picture of the bell tower, and that's the bell tower at the Camarillo State Hospital, which is still there. They preserved that part of the building when they were building the college.
You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
And
John's mind is blown.
It was always a trip too, because we'd be going to class and like I had like a cohort of friends who we were all in the teaching credential program together, and we would be like, I heard Hotel California on the radio when I was driving in today. And then like 2 days later, hey, I heard Hotel California on the radio. I was driving in today. Like it would be this like running thing. But because it was new, there was like literally 3 buildings. There was the main building where the classes were, and the bookstore was in the basement. And there was an admissions building, which was another building. And then there was like a temp, like a portable building that was the makeshift library. Like that's how new it was when I started going there. But all the other buildings and everything existed. And so me and my friends, we'd go around and like explore and look in the windows where you could see all the like overturned tables and cobweb. Like it was just left, right? And there were places with like medical equipment. Like this was clearly a doctor's office, and it's all just like cobwebs and dust. It was super spooky. We called ourselves the Scooby-Doo gang as we would like go through and try to like make our way into the haunted asylum and all this kind of stuff. And I'm looking at this movie, and all of the things that are happening, you can hear the moans echoing down the hallway of the electroshock therapy that's going on in the basement. The metal bed, like they strap you down to the gurney, even though you don't want to be. They're doing that. Like, I'm like, none of that was real. Somebody had seen this movie and they were making up stories about these are the tropes of a asylum. Like, it was just amazing. Like, oh yeah, in the basement, they did electroshock therapy. And if you go down there, there's this mural that people painted of the Wizard of Oz and blah, blah, like all this stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. Somebody was messing with me because I hadn't seen this movie yet.
But now you know. This is based off of what really happened at the time. And unfortunately, I think, fortunately, that college has grown enough that they have now gone in and renovated all those buildings, and they're much bigger
it's
campus
gorgeous
than when
now.
I was
like,
going
here we are,
but,
however, 20 years later, and it's beautiful and all completely renovated and all this stuff. In fact, I'll be presenting there next month.
Well, look at you.
More to
Full
come.
circle.
Fancy.
Are you going to give electric shock therapy?
You know what? Now that I've seen this movie, I was going to talk about like educational technology and the law and like cybersecurity, all this stuff. Like, nope, we're just going to bring it all the way back.
All your graphics should be graphics from this film.
Oh my gosh.
Let me tell you what the arrival to the psychiatric hospital reminded me of.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately paralleled the Buffy episode where everything in Buffy turned into her delusions when she went to the psych hospital. I was like, is this a normal, where did they get the idea for that episode? Was it from this? Has this been done in other places? But it had the same element of...
That's a Wizard of Oz thing, right? They give you a touch point in the opening of Wizard of Oz when everything's black and white. They give you a touch point for everything before she goes to Oz, right? You get the lady, you get the Wicked Witch on the bike, and you get the farm hands that become the other people. You get the fortune teller, all that kind of stuff goes in, and they do that same awesome storytelling thing in this one where like she's just like randomly like pretending she's brushing the hair of a pumpkin because she's bored and been sitting in a room all this time. Wait, speaking of which, another tangent. I love this movie so much.
Here we go.
Does every character's head come off in this movie? What is up with the heads coming off? Because the princess lady takes her head off a bunch of times. The pumpkin guy, his head falls off while they're flying. The creature that turns into a couch, his head pops off like at least twice. Like, that was one thing where I'm like, what are you trying to tell me, movie? Everyone's losing their head.
Belina never did. Farouja Bulk never did.
TikTok never did.
TikTok never did.
No, I guess not.
He just runs
but
out
I get
of
a point. It's
all the
more
time.
than normal.
It's
of people
more like
is
the one, like the princess lady taking off her head. Like, that's one thing. But then other characters, and multiple times for the, what's the donkey dude's name? What would they call him?
Man, why are you telling me that? I didn't write him down as a character that I loved.
I can look it up real quick. What is it?
Like Olaf.
The Gump.
Gump. That's right.
The Gump's head comes off 2 or 3 times, like more than,
well, the
like
Gump
at least
is a head.
twice.
He is a head. He's hanging. He's
right?
a head
and
hanging
they build
on the
him
wall.
a body,
and
that head pops off that body twice at least. Like, so I'm like, was that part of the book? And is that another like symbolism allegory of like people losing their heads?
Losing their heads,
because
maybe.
Is it that simple, or was the filmmaker just some kind of weird head pervert?
We gotta read the books. It's like Quentin Tarantino's feet instead. It's heads.
Maybe so. I don't know.
So I want to talk real quick about Farouja Bulk. Oh my gosh. I'm a fan of her as an actress. I'm not someone who goes on to like IMDb to see what else they're in to watch it. I don't like seek things out, but I like many things that she's in, right? Like
really?
The Craft. Love it. American History X. Love it. What is the other one? The Waterboy. Love it. That's Farouja Bulk. Yeah, look, I just blew Rob's mind. We're in an episode of Mind Blowing. It's our fault that it's all headless.
My God, I love this movie even more. It's got the Waterboy girlfriend in it.
Right? Like, I just love so many movies that she's in. And to see her in her debut role as this little kid was just phenomenal. I don't think they could have better cast anyone than a young Farouja Bulk, and all of her like macabre abilities and her facial expressions and how she can just roll with all this weirdness. I don't know that a child actor would have been as good. It's so good. Now, I also want to say, while watching this film, I don't know about the two of you, I am also a fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000. I felt like I was in an episode of MST3K while watching this.
Because you were talking through the whole thing?
What's that?
Because you were talking and joking through the whole thing?
Yeah, we kept pausing it and laughing at it and rewinding it and like the whole thing for days after. A chicken? Like, what do you want for dinner? Chicken? Because we don't get the reference to the chicken till the end, and eggs are poisonous, right? Eggs are poisonous! Like, it's just so goofy in all the good ways. I know I texted a group like, what is this movie, Joan? It was in an MST3K style, not making fun of it, just absolutely entertained and having fun for the, 90 minutes or whatever this movie is. My goodness. It's an experience.
It was, of the time, it was amusing and it was a little scary, but you couldn't look away, and there were so many nuances and intricacies.
What is your theory on the eggs, Joan? Because I am at the point where I'm like, okay, the big powerful guy is like, hey, people that are trying to do the right thing. Hey, Dorothy, who represents middle America farmland. I'm taking all of your stuff back, right? You built the Emerald City by mining the earth. Well, it turns out I'm the government and those were my things all along. So I'm going to overtax you and collect this kind of money and stuff. And is the egg just a symbol of farming and rural America, and that's why it's poison? I don't know. Like, I'm not strong on that theory. That's kind of my first thought. But do you have a theory yourself of like, why the egg?
Well, you're bringing a new level to it with the political overlay, but I feel like it can parallel today too, that the smaller people, the individuals, the humans are what make the story. And the egg is that small piece that can ruin everything if all the people, unite and come forward. And I don't know how that symbolizes the stuff of the times, but it takes one small movement to make things crumble, to start the process.
Also, without really knowing the background as deeply as you just nerded out on us, Rob, I just went with control. We don't know why eggs are poison, but for some reason he knows it and he doesn't want chickens, and it was a way to control people. I just went with control for like if someone could be allergic to eggs, and maybe it's as simple as that. And so his control,
not with a movie like this. Like this movie
listen, I
is...
didn't know, but right, I didn't know all of that deeper dive about it until right now when you just said it. Right, I didn't go looking for the deeper dive, so I'm taking it at face value of there's got to be something about control about it. He doesn't like him. He's allergic to him. He uses it to outlaw.
So I have a feeling that this would be a great like listener call to action. There's somebody out there who has read these books and knows. If you could write in and let us know about the symbolism of the allegory of the egg, like why is the egg poison? Or is that even in the book? Like maybe chickens and eggs have nothing to do with it in the book, and that was just something they put in the movie because they had a comic relief character of this chicken, which also looked great, by the way. Sometimes it was a real chicken, sometimes it was a taxidermy chicken puppet. I couldn't tell the difference. Like it was spot on.
I loved Belina's voice too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. Dorothy.
Shout out. And okay, so I'm looking now. That dude's name is Mark Wilson. That's a guy.
Chicken? Yeah.
Really? I really thought it was some like old lady.
Old lady.
Yeah. All right, Mark Wilson, good on you.
Mark Wilson, man, nailing it. You have probably heard in history class decades ago the Cross of Gold speech by William Jennings Bryan.
I didn't pay attention that much.
Okay, so William Jennings Bryan did this very viral speech back in like the late 1800s called the Cross of Gold speech, where he had this like impassioned thing at one of the like a political convention about this issue, the gold standard, and how, government is crucifying the middle America on this cross of gold, and how we need to introduce silver into the thing. And Wizard of Oz, like that whole thing is what it's built on. And then the idea of course, William McKinley being this false god as Oz. And then moving forward with that into these sequels, we're looking at Teddy Roosevelt, who was not necessarily like a populist president, but very populist friendly, right? If you think about Teddy Roosevelt, all the things you see of him is like, he's a war hero. He's on a horse. He's camping. He wants to make parks and recreation. He's a man of the people who's not afraid to get his hands dirty. And so then we get this just like absolutely like it's the age of electricity and modernization. We're moving forward into that realm. And we love the direction of this new populist president, Teddy Roosevelt. Here's a clockwork Teddy Roosevelt named TikTok just in the middle of the story. He looks like him. He's got the little mustache. Even when he turns into a piece of the collection of the Gnome King's collection, it's a little like army medal like you always see Teddy Roosevelt wearing on his shirt. It's just like, he's a literal, he's Teddy Roosevelt. And the people wind him up and he does and he helps us. Like, it's just absolutely wild.
Well, okay. So there is so much we could talk about this film. This could be a 3-hour podcast, but I want to move to final thoughts. Rob, do you have final thoughts? Joan, final thoughts?
I have a lot of final thoughts. Most of them, I can't live without this movie. This movie is rewatch forever for me. But a few fun facts. This was the first time Disney used the blue background with the Disney castle. First movie.
Yeah. In the intro.
Yeah, in the intro.
Disney
first time.
History. Love that.
Jack the Pumpkinhead, obviously informed Nightmare Before Christmas, Jack Skellington.
Totally.
That's there.
I was calling him Jack Skellington the whole time.
Yes.
I don't even know what his name was.
That's exactly where it came from. And then this movie also has a USC connection. And this is my final thought. The director, I can't remember his name, but he, midway through the movie, gets fired. He's like, holy crap, who am I going to get to finish this movie for me? So he contacts his film school friends, Coppola, Spielberg, Lucas, and he's like, who can do this for me? Anyway, then they hire him back. But Lucas visited the set of this, and it was one of the producers of the Return to Oz who helped him get Star Wars up and going. So Rob, I knew you'd like that piece. Like, there's this
really, so like a connection they
connection.
made on trying to finish this movie was all
To Star
wrapped
Wars.
around that. That's incredible. Gosh, the Jack Skellington too. And I know this is final thoughts, and I shouldn't be bringing up new topics, but the creepiest thing about this movie was not the weird claymation animatronics, was not the electrotherapy. The fact that this dude met this little girl and is like, "Can I call you mother?" and calls her mom the entire time.
So weird.
But
that's
it's
weird.
Gay
bro.
icons, right? This is like gay icon status.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
It's a crude term, which I'll end up having to bleep out, but he turns Farouja Balk. He turns Dorothy into his
In gay
You've
culture,
heard that term?
mother is like Dolly Parton, Celine Dion, like like the idols of gay culture.
Okay.
And it's also in African American culture, they'll say ma as a respect. So, I had students, okay, ma, it's a sign of respect in some cultures.
Okay.
It's weird though.
I thought it was weird too, because I guess so kind of, would it be the same thing as like, oh, I met this person and now I'm calling them daddy? Like, that seems weird. Is it kind of that same weirdness?
In our culture, that has
no?
a sexual connotation, right? So that
right.
is
So is
even
that
weirder.
the same thing here?
Well, no, because
No.
he explains it very well that he had lost his mother and he felt connected to her right away. Can I call you mother? Right?
That's got to be in the book, because that's such a weird thing to.
Yeah, it is. I'm sure the book will explain. Hopefully, the book will explain it more. And one of us, I know
Princess
at least one of us is
Amazma
going to read it.
comes back at the end and is his actual mom because she's the one who made him. So he is reunited with her. Anyway, good point, Rod.
Sorry, you could cut all that part out. Final
No,
thoughts.
well, there's so much to this movie. At some point, we have to end the episode, which I hate because we could talk about this forever. I want to do a final thought for me, just where my brain went with this, and I'm connecting it to Stephen King. All right. Dorothy's mom in this movie.
Everybody drink. Annalise brought up Stephen King. Everybody drink.
Yeah, I mean, and Joan brought up Buffy earlier, so if you didn't drink back then either, take another one now. Laurie Piper plays Dorothy's mom in this film. So I have my own little land of Stephen King, what do you call it? Epilogue to this, that when Dorothy returns, her mother goes deeper into religion than they already are and becomes a little bit insane over religion. And the father dies because of his injuries he never took care of. They end up moving to a small town near Castle Rock. And she changes Dorothy's name as a teenager to Carrie. And then she uses her powers from Oz to become telekinetic or realize she's telekinetic, and then burns down the city.
That's amazing.
Okay.
Connection to Carrie. Like, I just couldn't help. Every time Laurie Piper spoke in this, I heard, they're all going to laugh at you. They're all going to laugh at you. Like, that's all I heard every time. Dorothy, stay here. They're all going to laugh at you. That's all I heard the entire time. I love it so much. I've not seen Laurie Piper in anything else, and I know she was a prominent actress of the time, but that's where I went.
My final thoughts are the wonderful world of Oz is a nerdy, vein that needs to be mined. If you are a nerd listening to this and you're like, Wizard of Oz, I guess I've heard of that movie, do know that this is an expanded universe that has multiple movie adaptations. It's got at least 8 books into it. There's games and RPG settings that explore these things. The characters are symbolic. It also has this vein of like nerdy historical American like history in it. There's a lot to explore in these works and in Oz. So dive in.
And Joan, thank you for bringing this movie to the podcast. This was such an absolute blast. Dr. Intern Joan is back in the studio with us, so we're going to start with her this week. Dr. Intern Joan, what's the nerdiest thing you did this week?
Spend a ton of money that I had no business spending.
Beautiful.
That sounds very nerdy.
So
you followed the yellow brick road.
Followed the yellow brick road. The existing cast members of Stand By Me have joined together to do this tour where they watch the movie and then they come out for a Q&A session.
Oh, good.
I was so mad that it was only the East Coast, and I was scrolling through something and I saw that they're coming to Portland in March 2026. And I said, I don't care what that costs, I'm going to it. So I pull up tickets. I pay more than I probably should have for like third, fourth row seats. And
you
then
might
I
get to ask a question.
Yeah.
I know. And then I paid for a meet and greet.
Good for you. That's amazing.
And one question I hope to have the balls to ask. One guess.
What the secret knock is.
I will tell you. What's the nerdiest thing you guys did this week?
Well, you're going to
That would be amazing, Joan. Would be amazing.
If I can just do it, I don't know. I think recording it will probably be not okay. But if I can just have the satisfaction that I've asked that question and gotten some insight.
Will Wheaton will love that question. He's a nerd.
I know.
And give them koozies. We are lousy with koozies and these need to pay off.
Ooh,
I mean, I have stickers.
I got to add koozies to my packing list.
Oh, yeah, packing. I have stickers that I will bring. I'll ask the question maybe during the Q&A and then in the meet and greet when I get my photo op.
My goodness.
I'm so excited.
Who is it? I mean, we all know River Phoenix tragically died young, but Jerry O'Connell, Will Wheaton, and is Corey Feldman going to be there? And anyone else are going to have I'm going to forget the name.
No, just those three. I
Okay.
prepared myself. I have to prepare myself. In one of the videos or pictures Will Wheaton posted of the first run, they left a chair open for River. And I was like, what?
I love it.
I'm in this event. I don't know. I'm so excited.
Joan, when you go and you become best friends with Will Wheaton and he loves our koozies, let him know that his work that he did with Geek and Sundry and oh gosh, what was his podcast? America Free Burrito or whatever, that his work is foundational to why I want to do a nerd podcast.
No, 100%.
So when you're hanging out with him backstage in the green room and stuff, you let him know that you're part of this thing. And Rob Cooper, that all his work that he did around that nerd stuff and podcasting in the very beginning, back in 2000s or whatever, really paid off.
Rob will be my first top of my mind thought when I meet him for sure.
I also imagine, for better or for worse, now that it's happening in March, I am sure they're going to have some sort of tribute to Rob Reiner, who obviously was tragically murdered last month. And I know that, I'd be real interested to hear what they do to honor him. And here's your fun fact, because Joan brought up Stephen King. So take another drink. Stephen King needed a minute to collect himself after screening this film with Rob Reiner, and told him later that it was the most faithful adaptation of what was in his brain to paper to screen that he'd ever experienced. So I'm looking forward to hearing not only about it all in general, but I wonder what they'll do as a tribute to Rob Reiner.
Yeah, it was just, and Stand By Me is one of those rewatch from childhoods for me. If it's on, I
1,000%.
stop. If it just is. So,
and a great read, The Body.
I indeed read it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Rob. Good on you, Joan. I'm super excited for you. And I know we'll be recording in March, so we're going to have to hear about this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Rob, what's the nerdiest thing you did this week?
I got a new 3D printer.
What?
Amazing.
This is, I think, the 5th printer I've had in the past 10 or 12 years or however long I've been 3D printing. And the amount of the step forward, the leap forward this technology has taken in these last couple years, apparently, is outstanding. From the very beginning, the first 3D printer I had was this gigantic $5,000 maker bot when it first came out, and it was 3D printing is going to change the world. It was the biggest pain in the ass ever. It was so difficult to dial this thing, and everything was manual, everything was mechanical. It was in this gigantic case you couldn't get your hands in to do stuff. It was awful. And then after that, I was look at, now it's all open and you can do this and it's easier to level and all this kind of stuff. Still garbage. After that, it was I'm going to invest some good money into, I had the Prusa one where it was you build it from scratch, all the ins and outs, because of course with 3D printing, you're going to have to do a lot of maintenance. So you really want to know the machines. You can take it apart, change out all the parts are, modular, and put it back together and all that stuff. So dealt with that for a while and all of the problems that came with that. And then all of a sudden it's hey, what if we gave you a 3D printer and it levels itself? It does everything. It prints perfectly every time. You can put a bunch of different colors in it. And don't worry, you don't have to know when the color runs out or when you want to change the color. It'll do all that automatically too. And in fact, we'll put a little camera on it so you can open up an app on your phone and check on your print from wherever you are in the world to see how it's doing. And also, you don't have to worry about SD cards or plugging things in or whatever. It's all just Wi-Fi powered. You can literally find something on your phone and say, oh, I like that. Boop. And then wherever you are at home, your thing will just start printing beautifully and perfectly. It's incredible. And so the thing that I have been messing around with the most is it does the automatic color changing, right? So it can hold 4 spools of different color stuff, and then you can make different layers, different colors. So as an example, I've been making these little Star Wars coins. That's my little Darth Vader one.
That is super cool.
I got a little Grogu one.
Yes.
I got a little Mandalorian one, and they're all different colors, and they all just do all of that automatically, and they're super clean and beautiful. I'm just absolutely stoked with my new 3D printer and how awesome 3D printing finally is. After 10 years, this is like the dream of how 3D printing always should have been. It's incredible.
I'm excited to hear every year you talk about having a big 3D printing project. Now that you have this new one, I'm sure something's going to emerge. I'm looking forward to hearing about it.
I am right now, like this is just one of the kind of things, these little tokens, these little Star Wars tokens are indicative of what I've been doing, which is making 3D printing tons of game tokens for tabletop gaming. And I think I have almost, probably by next time we record, I will have printed everything I need for the game Space Weirdos, including awesome modular carrying case thing to store everything in. And that's going to be really cool. I will share that when it's done. It's amazing. It works. It's not like, oh, try this and see if it doesn't screw up. It's like, no, it works. It works every time.
So
because
cool.
It does such a good job with like not warping and straight lines and being fast and stuff. I think a lot of the stuff I'm going to do this year is those like storage solutions, board game box inserts, miniature storage, paint storage, like that kind of thing is what I'm leaning towards for this year.
Fantastic.
Analese, what's the nerdiest thing you did this week?
So last month, I know we've talked about this on the podcast before, but Rob, you and me went to both of our first ever NFL game.
We sure as heck did.
It was so fun. To be clear, it was the 49ers against the Bears. So we also got spoiled with a very electric and big scoring, close game. We did the things. We did the red zone rally of all you can eat or drink for 3 hours before the game, into the game. We never actually went to our super nosebleed seats. We just found a spot much lower that they let us stand behind some seats and watch the game from then. It was a perfect view of the game.
I tell that part of the story a lot because I'm like, it was super cool to be like, we were pretty much at the top of the lower bowl, just like hanging out and like, oh, the play's moving down the field. Let's just kind of walk over here and see it, right? Like, awesome. And like super chill, right? Because other places you go, security is going to be like, oh, you can't stand there.
Stand there.
No, everybody was like having a great time. I was standing next to security guards who were also watching the game.
You just stand there watching the game and high five.
Awesome.
I high-fived one of the security guards at one point.
Yes.
But it was so much fun. But of course, as we are wont to do, we made sure to take time to check out local nerdy stores. Like Rob mentioned, going to Sacramento and doing a whole day's worth of visiting nerdy stores. So just a shout out to those 2 stores. One of them is called Game King. And then the other one was...
Well, there's Game Castle.
Game Castle. There we go.
Okay.
And the other one was Illusion?
We went to Elusive Games. We went to Game Castle. We went to Sword and Board.
No, Sword and Board's... Oh, we went to Sword and Board because you were here in Ukiah. Yes.
Yeah. I'm like, when I think of that weekend, I'm like, we went to like 4 game stores. It was awesome. I spent way too much money.
We did. Found some good stuff. But yeah, I just really love going to nerd stores, and we do make sure to, get something and support them a little bit. And the dude at the Game Castle got us to like sign up for their little Game Castle club and this, that, and the other. Yeah, it was good. I found and purchased the Army Painter Speed Paint Metallics.
Ooh, you were looking for those.
Yes, game changer. Oh my goodness, game changer.
Oh, have you gotten a chance to use them?
A little bit as I finished up Final Girl 3. Yeah,
they're like magic.
I don't know how they're brighter than the actual ones that have the glimmer and glisten. Like their weapons are popping so much more than I've like, so good.
Yeah, there's some kind of magic in them. And by magic, I mean super toxic, terrible chemical because they also like stink like resin when you're using them.
They do.
But it's worth it.
But they don't get all gummy and gooey like the paints from Citadel do.
If anything, they're like more watery, which is also weird because the way they make metallic paints is there's little like shavings of aluminum in them. Like that's how they get that sparkle. So you'd think they'd have to be thick to hold that together. Nope. I don't know.
Magic.
I don't know what's going on. It's crazy.
Magical. And I did get the Chew RPG game, which is a really thick. Now, let me tell you what, Rob. It's thick.
Sorry.
With 2 C's.
You're not wrong. It's like plan for 8 to 12 sessions of 60 to 90 minutes each to get through that game.
And it's all encompassing in that giant book. I see. So it takes you through a whole campaign.
A whole thing. It's crazy. And there is an expansion. There was an expansion book when we were there, but I'm like, I'm going to buy this first one. I mean, it's a big book. So I've been reading that. But yeah, we had a good old time, not only at the game and watching such a fantastic game and having such a good time as best friends, but also just nerding out at some nerd stores local to Santa Clara. So
yeah, I would say it was an 11 out of 10 Rob and Analese weekend. It was basically like all nerd, no breaks.
Nope, it couldn't have gone any better than it did. It like hit all of the nerd best friend boxes, including amazing sandwiches.
That's right. All my favorite things.
And we played the Stranger Things Upside Down game, which I had painted horribly when I first started painting things like 5 years ago and never played.
Listen, don't let that discourage anybody. A painted miniature is better than an unpainted miniature, even if it's your first one.
And that game is really fun. Actually,
it is fun. It was a good game.
Easy to learn and was really fun. So that was the nerdiest thing I did this week was at Santa Clara Nerd Store and then using the stuff we bought to paint Final Girl 3.
Amazing.
So this wraps up our trip to the dark side of Oz. Next episode, we're asking read first or watch first and putting Jessica Jones to the test. Comic panels versus the screen, which hits harder? Make sure you're subscribed or following so you don't miss it. Before you go, join us. Hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss what's next. If you felt the nerd love, drop us a 5-star rating and help more nerds find our people. Find us on social media at NerdBestFriends or email podcast@nerdbestfriends.com. Help us grow the nerd herd, spread the geeky joy, and we'll see you next time. Dr. Intern Joan, thank you for bringing this movie. It is going to be a rewatch for me in perpetuity as well.
Yes, Dr. Intern Joan, you made my life and my nerdy heart better and more full this week thanks to this offering. Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. And my nerd heart grew 3 sizes because my reaction to Neverending Story was so different to yours in this movie.
It's all good. It's all good. We love sharing the nerdism. All right, nerds.
Not like when I brought you this awesome Supergirl book that's award-winning and touted, and you guys looked at me like I was a cat that dropped a dead bird at your feet.
What is this?
All right, nerds. See you next week.